has just gone 8 o'clock Central African time. Good evening and welcome to the news bulletin at 8, brought to you by Eswatini TV. My name is Sanepo Ngwane, alongside Nomakabiso Ngambule. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. We're coming to you live from our Hospital Hill studios in Mbabane, and these are your top stories tonight. The Ministry of Health in Germany, through the World Health Organization in Germany, has donated surgical masks to the Kingdom of Eswatini. Nature has donated 500 chairs to the 5 new Tingundla centers in the country, and the Ministry of Education will hire 300 teachers to fill vacant posts in various schools in the kingdom. And now the news in detail. The Minister for Health, Zingosi, says they are encouraged by the surgical masks donated by the Ministry of Health in Germany through the World Health Organization in Eswatini. Ngosi says the surgical mask will assist in protecting healthcare workers against COVID-19. The minister was speaking during the donation handover from Germany in Mbabane.
The Ministry of Health in Eswatini has received a donation of PPE from the government of Germany through the World Health Organization in Eswatini. Speaking during the handover, the Minister for Health, Zingosi, says despite the difficulty caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, it is inspiring to see the German government assisting the Kingdom of Eswatini.
Our measures and our aim is to save lives first throughout this outbreak. So as the WHO representative has outlined, the masks are very important, but we do them in collaboration, in conjunction with other measures that we are taking to make sure that the health system can respond. We are sitting very edgy at this point, where we are slowly watching our numbers increase, very, very slowly. It still looks controllable at this point, but we also have to be aware of what's happening within the region and looking into our neighboring countries and looking at the numbers increasing there. The intimacy of movement of people between our countries makes us all very vulnerable.
The German representative Liesel Topfer says the donation is part of Germany's effort to fight the COVID-19 pandemic globally.
Since the outbreak of the pandemic, Germany has increased its cooperation with the WHO around the world. This donation of surgical face masks is just one part of Germany's effort to fight the pandemic globally. It forms part of the in-kind donations of 121 million surgical masks made in support of the WHO response to the COVID-19 outbreak in several countries. With $2.63 billion, Germany is also part of the second biggest donor to the ACT Accelerator, which is the Access to COVID-19 Tools Accelerator, the organization behind COVAX.
World Health Organization's country representative in Eswatini, Dr. Cornelia Atio, who was represented by Dr. Kevin Makatange, says the wearing of masks is one of the infection prevention and control measures that can prevent the spread of COVID-19. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni with Muzim Konda in Mbabane.
The National Emergency Response Committee to HIV Nature Organization has donated 500 chairs to government to be used in the 5 new Tingundla centers. The organization's director, Kanyamabuza, officially presented the chairs to the Minister for Tingundla, David Ngampalala, in the Ministry of Tingundla offices.
Following the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, government put in place safety measures so as to keep the further spread of the virus. Social distancing, whereby 1.5 meters is encouraged between people, is amongst others one of the safety measures put in place by government so as to keep the spread of the virus. In light of this, the National Emergency Response Committee to HIV Nature saw the need to assist government in her efforts to keep the spread of the virus by donating 500 chairs to 5 different constituencies, which will make it easier for people to maintain the stipulated 1.5 meter social distance. When formally presenting the chairs to the Minister for Tingundla, David Ngampalala, the organization's director Kanyamabuza said this is an initiative to help assist government in her efforts to keep the spread of the virus.
Sibuka sikhanza ukuthi lokho sengasikuvula vulekile na ufika letingundleni ikakhulu letisha tingundla akukhonakala lokusebenzana lesive ngoba nasifika ukhanza ukuthi labanye ufuna beme ngetinyawo nabemileka usakhona babona ukuthi cha manini nichelelane kahle labanye behla bayenyuka khasi behla benyuka bayasonzelana futhi kwaba lesingo ke lesibonakala ngase siyaphuthuma lesekuthi asezamela ukuthi manje sethwele itulo nawubeka isitulo phansi uyakhona ukuthi umuntu udathi la ungasonzethi lesitulo kulomunye uhlaleke phansi ke sikhona ukuthi sisebenze kahle letinguni.
The Minister for Tinkundla, David Ngampalala, extended his gratitude on behalf of government for the organization's donation.
Ngisasho lokho bahlonishwa anginibongele ukuthi uhulumende weNgwenyama asebenzisane na nature futhi na nature akhone ukuhlonipha uhulumende weNgwenyama. Lokho kusenda bengunene ukuthi ngasi kushayela tandla into lenjani. Sibonga ukuthi ingilamanye ama-organization laphuma athi ayawuqinisa kusebenta netikhulu. Lamanye ama-organization lathe i-AIDS sitayiqeda ngoba sisebenta nebantu abenkosi nabo babe tikhulu. Kusho ukuthini lokho? Kusho ukuthi mawuliswathi banayo inhlonipho ukuthi live liqhamuka kuphi libhekephi.
The constituencies which benefited from this donation are Ngomiyahlaba, Methula, Pondo, Gilgal and Mochane. Reporting for Eswatini TV is Msimis Lushaba and Muzi Mkonda in Babane.
The Ministry of Education will hire 300 teachers to fill in vacancies in different schools around the country. This was said by the Principal Secretary in the Ministry, Bertram Stewart, during the Ministry's appearance before the Public Accounts Committee in Parliament at Lubamba. Our reporter Nelson Langamanda has more on that story.
The chairperson of the Public Accounts Committee, Pilar Buthelezi, has appealed to government to look into the issue of schools hiring temporary teachers and requesting parents to pay for their salaries. Speaking during the sitting of the committee, Buthelezi voiced out this concern, stating that some learners will soon write examinations, so schools, especially those in the rural areas, should have teachers. The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Bertram Stewart, says they are concerned about the long processes of hiring teachers. He says the hiring of 300 teachers has been approved by government.
We asked for 950 positions according to the vacancy rate that we have at the Golway. And then after 950, 450 positions. The public service, we literally walked there to them to plead our case. After that, Basnigeta Emma positions Lalcool.
Stewart assures members of the committee that the ministry is giving the matter the needed priority. Members of the committee say it is time that the teaching profession is given dignity and teachers given the respect they deserve.
We are expected to eat, ugeze, ugibele mabhasi ubhadale i-rent.
A ticking time bomb in the sense that, Chair, one, whatever this country, Katau, Veleneva, Netisigalo, Saka Enila. Two, they could be feeding our children information in our.
The Principal Secretary promised that soon the 300 teachers will be deployed in different schools around the country. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, Nelson Langamandla with LinkedIn Gule, Parliament.
The Eswatini Sugar Association CEO Dr. Philip Mnisi encourages organizations and companies to lend a helping hand to hospitals who are in need of equipment and save lives. Dr. Mnisi was speaking at the RFM Hospital in Manzini during the Eswatini Sugar Association sponsorship of a theatre table and lights, which are at the value of 499,000 Malangeni. Our reporter Kian Msibi has more on that story.
The RFM Theatre Ward has been closed for quite some time due to the dilapidation of their equipment. It is for that reason that the Eswatini Sugar Association has donated with a state-of-the-art light and table amounting to 499,000 Malangeni. The Eswatini Sugar Association CEO Dr. Philip Mnisi says this will reduce patients being transferred to other countries.
The equipment we are officially handing over today is the state-of-art dual theatre light and the operating theatre table, including accessories. The combined contribution and donation of this equipment is 499,000 emalangeni. We have been advised that the reopening of this newly purposed operating room is in October last year, and the addition of the new light and table has resulted in an average increase of up to 30% in capacity and cases attended. This is encouraging, as we believe one life saved is better than one life lost.
Benjamin Similan spoke on behalf of the RFM board chair. He says this will help improve their service delivery.
The theatre was closed in February 2019 due to faulty structures which had to be fixed. It was dilapidated and there were leaks all over the place. And this morning we are proud to say that we have received a very, very state-of-the-art theatre light as well as a theatre table worth, if combined, worth 499,000. The theatre came into operation last year, December, and it's in full swing as we speak right now. When we were there this morning, we were told that in the last 2 weeks alone, about 100 patients have been helped.
The RFM theatre can now function, and he promises that they will utilize it to full capacity and further take care of it now and then. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian Msibi at the RFM in Manzini.
The Ministry of Education has established regional subcommittees which will work in finding a lasting solution on the continued charges of illegal top-up fees by certain schools. This was said by the Principal Secretary Bertram Stewart when Gamkwele High School appeared before the Public Accounts Committee in Parliament at Lobamba.
Gamkwele High School is one of the schools that has appeared before the Public Accounts Committee in Parliament for illegally topping up fees for 123 orphaned and vulnerable children amounting to 64,000 emalangeni. The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Bertram Stewart, says the rise in cases of schools that charge the top-up fees is a concern to the ministry. He says as a result, the ministry has established regional subcommittees that will work to find solutions to this problem.
Top-ups, because it's a recurring problem among most of the schools. There is something that I want to share with the PAC in confidence. To the public domain with the consensus from the PAC.
Bertram continues to say that he has all the answers to the questions that might arise from the Auditor General's report of 2018 about this issue, but requested a caucus meeting to give clear explanation to the members of Parliament in private. The Principal Secretary promised members of the committee that the ministry is giving this matter all due attention.
Saka is subcommittee le cherishwa ngu regional education officer for that region.
At the time of compiling this report, the committee was still in a caucus meeting. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, Nelson Ndlangamandla with LinkedIn Gule, Parliament.
The Indian High Commissioner Randa Venkataraman says practicing yoga as a sport and physical exercise helps relaxes the mind, body and soul. She was speaking during the World Yoga Day that was held at the Royal Villas and Eswatini. Our reporter Kian Msibi has more on that story.
Yoga is a sport and a physical exercise that relaxes the mind, body and soul. This year's theme is Yoga for Wellness, practicing yoga for physical and mental well-being. The Indian High Commission facilitated a yoga exercise which was attended by some attendees with strict adherence to COVID-19. The High Commissioner of India, Randa Venkataraman, says even people with disabilities can partake in yoga activities.
Practicing of yoga helps people with disabilities too. But for that purpose, I would suggest that they practice it with the specific instructions from an experienced yoga guru.
She says it can be practiced almost on a daily basis, not only the 21st of June, which is annually.
You can practice it even for 15 to 20 minutes a day. Regularly done is very good for you.
Both the young and the old can partake in yoga activities. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian MCB at the Royal Villas, Eswatini.
In a bid to fight discrimination and stigma against HIV-positive Christians, the Church Forum in Eswatini facilitated a meeting with pastors and their wives to give them the right tools to support Christians who are HIV-positive. Now, according to the Church Forum's communications officer, Busisiwe Shongwe, pastors are encouraged to stop using discriminatory words against those who are HIV-positive when preaching. Shongwe was speaking during a meeting held at the Hilton Garden Inn Hotel in Mbabane.
The Church Forum, in its pursuit to strengthen Eswatini churches to fight against stigma and discrimination against people who are HIV positive, facilitated a meeting with pastors and their wives where they were given the right information about HIV and how they can support an HIV positive church member. Church Forum's communication officer Buyisile Shongwe says their role is to assist the church leaders to develop a message of hope aimed at engaging communities of faith to understand HIV, raise community awareness, and bring critical prevention and treatment services.
HIV stigma and discrimination in the church. Lesikwendile sibite bomake mfundisi nabo bomfundisi because bona bama role model. Bazalwane bayalalela nangabe kukhuluma umfundisi. Site kutobafundisa nge-HIV. Bona umsebenzi wabo batathi lokho labakufundza obabuyele emuva emasonfeni bayofundisa ukuze libandla litothola le information and batova kangcono nangabe kuqhamuka from make mfundisi bomake batawulalela nabo babemfundisi nabo babemfundisi nabatawukhuluma batawulalela is address alisonfa. Sifuna nokuthi kunciphe stigma and discrimination in the church. Sesakha nje manual le address stigma in the church. So iyaba guide abafundisi ukuthi na ushumayela amasemons akho akangadiva umuntu one-HIV ngathi so discriminated ative ngathi akasafuni kutesonfeni but naye akadive asekhaya amukeleka. So inako konke nje the basic facts on HIV, how to reduce stigma nokuthi nje libandla yini inzima lengalidlala kulwa ne-HIV.
The 2019 HIV Stigma Index by Nature shows that 15% of HIV-positive individuals were verbally insulted, harassed and threatened because of their HIV status. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangin with Muzum Konda in Mbabane.
The Association of Students Against Drug Abuse and Trafficking, in collaboration with other stakeholders, has collaborated the World No Tobacco Day under the theme Commit to Quit. The commemoration took place at Steg. Our reporter Tembelile Makucha has more on that story.
On Monday, the Association of Students Against Drug Abuse and Trafficking, SADAT, commemorated the World No Tobacco Day at Stegi. SADAT coordinator Peter Semogerere says this day sensitizes the issues of smoking tobacco.
Into four. You have legal issues, you have got social issues, you have economic effects, and you have health effects. Unfortunately, when we talk about these things, most of the time we concentrate on the health effects, and even then we talk superficially on the outside. Everybody talks about cancer, lung cancer for instance, but they don't talk about the other complicated cancers that also come from using tobacco. Some people get throat cancer, for instance, and they are unable to even breathe. They get machines that they can use to breathe. And then we have those other diseases that require people to be on very expensive medication. On the issue of economics, I think I should go there more. On the issue of economics, this country loses close to 700 million every year on tobacco-related illnesses and other losses.
Temba Masego, speaking on behalf of the people of Stegi, expressed their gratitude to SADAT. Masego says, it is a shock to hear that over 600 people per year die due to damages caused by tobacco intake.
Ubona ukuthi abantu abasishiyako eveni lekuthiwa bang 600 ngeminyaka babulawe ngento ethi tsakamiva efayikhathi bona kubhema.
Nomsa Mamba spoke on behalf of the Lubombo Regional Administrator Themba Msibi. Mamba says they are grateful to SADC, especially because the use of tobacco has increased in the region.
Dinyendi vele letidzakamiva khona nje likhona lengalithandzi lelikhona lalibonje lobonako la ukuthi vele le business yaletidzakamiva yinyendi.
Dan Mazia, who spoke for Langa Chiefdom, says it saddens them to see the youth disrespect elders and stealing under the influence of drug abuse. Mazia continued to ask for more visits from SADC to their communities. Reporting is Tembelihle Makuchwa with Themba Shabangu Stegi.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at news making headlines in the world of sport. The Eswatini Cricket Association says the standard of the local T20 Senior Men's League has improved compared to previous years. The association's administration officer Mandla Dlamini says the standard gives them the hope that next year the country will have competitive representatives to take part in the regional tournaments. Dlamini was speaking during the T20 Senior League games at the Malkans Country Club.
The Eswatini Cricket Association has been impressed with the current performance of different clubs within the T20 Senior Men's League. Mandla Dlamini, who is the association administration officer, says the level of improvement amongst the clubs gives them hope that come next year the country will have competitive clubs for regional tournaments. Dlamini says this year's league has 11 clubs. He says there are other 3 different clubs who have shown their interest in taking part of the competitive league. Mbabane Cricket and Malkans Cricket clubs are amongst the clubs fighting for the title. Their captains Sibonseni Dlamini and Russell Parkwet are expressing how the league is going for them so far. For Mbabane Cricket Club captain, it was a shaky start from the side, but slowly they are starting to gain momentum.
We are almost stopped the tournament yethu. Kuleli tafula lethu, I think my teams lebeka khona beka like 6-7 and sing number 2 from the bottom.
Yeah, we made it into finals last year. We'd like to make it again. Got a big game, if we ended up in the playoffs, a big game against Pak 11. They're a pretty strong side. Dada are one of the teams to look at. Yeah, I think they were the teams that gave us the biggest run last year. But it's good fun, It's good to have a league here in Swaziland. A lot of teams, a lot of interest. Good to have a lot of Swazi players involved, and just good fun all over.
The association is now working on seeing the women's league reaching the standard that has been so far achieved by the men's league. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Mzonera with Rinda Dlamini, Malkans.
Well, Eswatini, that brings us to the conclusion of our news bulletin at 8 at Eswatini TV. But before we go, here's a quick reminder of your top stories tonight. The Ministry of Health in Germany, through the World Health Organization in Germany, has donated surgical masks to the Kingdom of Eswatini. Nature has donated 500 chairs to the 5 new Tingula centers in the country. And the Ministry of Education will hire 300 teachers to fill vacant posts in various schools in the Kingdom. Beautiful Kingdom of Eswatini. That brings us to the conclusion of our news bulletin at 8 at Eswatini TV. We shall cross over to the Weather Center for a detailed weather report from us and the rest of transmission crew here at Eswatini TV. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. For now, it's good night and God bless.
everywhere you go. MTN.
And you are tuned into a brand new show on Eswatini TV called Street Quiz.